So, what do you find more unsettling? Being abducted by aliens or being in the water with a great white shark at night?
Oh. God, it's like the same thing.
They're both pretty awful. Not gonna lie.
One's just like taking you, the other one's just like hanging out with you.
Yeah.
More unsettling?
Well, like,
I don't know.
which scenario would you prefer to find yourself in? One you can, like, one's obviously something that you can understand because we've all been in the water at nighttime.
Yeah.
And
It's horrible.
a lot of times you're with your friends. I remember specifically being at a hotel pool at nighttime with my dad, and the hotel pool had lights, but my dad was doing the Jaws thing, pretending to be a shark, and just the very idea scared the living hell out of me, even though I know it's my father grabbing my leg, you know?
So, one time, I convinced Max, hey, at midnight, let's go night surfing, because it's supposed to be a full moon. Well, us being fucking idiots, the full moon's not till like 4, when it's like at the highest and like the brightest or whatever. I don't think it was 4, but it was much later than midnight.
Yeah.
It was not at its peak light hour. And I was the closing busser at CBK, and he wasn't working. And he was like, all right, I'm on board. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna rush to get off work. And I brought my surfboard, it was in my truck, all shift. And I'm like, as soon as I get off, just meet me in the parking lot at work, and we'll just jam to the beach. It's gonna be awesome. Because we had done a month before, we had done a full moon surf at Rincon. It was actually really fun. Because it was like peak full moon, so you could actually see a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the point of Ventura. So he's like all reluctant. I'm on my dinner break, lunch break, whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be off soon. Blah, blah, I'm gonna jam to the bathrooms. He was just like, I don't know. And I'm just like, what do you mean you don't know? I've been fucking bussing tables for 6.5 hours. This is all I want to do. This is literally getting me through the night. We're doing this. He's like, all right, maybe. So he like reluctantly shows up late after I got off work early. We take separate cars and we jam to the beach because he's being a little bitch about it. And I'm like, God damn it. And we park at the point. And I'm like, we're doing this. And he was like, dude, it's not even that bright out. I'm like, whatever. We'll still have fun. There's waves. Whatever. We'll go get in the water. It's crazy. It's fun. It's stupid. And he's just like, nah, I don't want to do it. And I was just like, dude. I literally like went through my whole work shift. I'm like, I'm going. He was like, no. I'm like, you can join me or you can sit on the beach. I'm getting in the water. So I suited up all pissed off. And like, the principal of the thing got my surfboard, paddled out by myself. And he stood there and like smoked a cigar or something on the beach. He was smoking like, I think it was like a cigar, like a little cigarello thing. All bundled up and warm. Smoking a cigar on the beach. I paddled out, looking over my shoulder. I could see the little glow of the cigar. And I was just like, son of a bitch. I'm just paddling out all pissed off. And as soon as I went under the first wave that broke in front of me, I duck dove underneath it. And as I was underwater, I was like, this was a mistake. I was like, I am very alone in a very dark body of water. And I like immediately cranked and like popped up early because I was just like, I want to be on the surface. And then kept paddling because I was just like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to catch a wave, and then I'm going to go back to the truck. But I went out past the break and I sat out there in the ocean in the dark on not a very aggressively full moon. It was terrifying. Every little splash, because it wasn't like the night we'd surf when it was a good full moon where you could see the waves coming. I couldn't see shit. The only thing I could see was if I was looking in the right direction with the lights from the coast, I could see the like angle of the water. Everything out towards open sea was dark. So I couldn't see waves coming. I couldn't see anything. I was like, this is horrible. Why did I do this? I was like, this is not the point that needs to be made right now. I'm either going to get eaten by a shark or I'm going to shit myself. And neither of which are going to be a good time when I get back to the beach. And so every little splash of water, I was just like terrified. And like all of a sudden, like the horizon just rises up. because it's like the set's coming in, and I don't know where I am placement-wise. So I'm just caught inside. I think I got caught inside on like 2 different sets. So I constantly freaked out, laid down, paddled further out to sea to try and beat it over these waves, and still had to duck dive into the dark. And then I think I finally caught like one really shitty wave and just was like so desperate to try and ride it to the beach that as soon as I thought I was gonna like wade out of it, I just laid on my belly and paddled in with it. And the only thing I could see Max's little glow from his little cigarello thing on the beach. So I kind of knew where he was. And the whole time I was just watching it, and I was just like, this is horrible. There's like strong current and shit. Anyways, long story short, I digress. As terrifying as that was, I would probably still pick that. Just because it's like, I don't know, you kind of know what you're up against as a human. That's my tale. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I don't surf anymore.
Here's to be abducted.
Yeah!
By aliens.
Bring me the aliens. Let's go.
Oh, man. Welcome back to the Johnny Jazzcast.
Oh,
I am Johnny Horror, one of your hosts this evening, and with me tonight, the one, the only, Brian Calvert, who just described a harrowing tale of survival.
Stupidity.
Yes. Severe stupidity and stubbornness, which you're not known for at all. None of those things.
No. Doesn't check out.
Oh god, just listening to that story the entire time I was like, yeah, anytime now, guys, you can zap me up and just take me with. That'd be better.
The dust just swirls inside.
I actually wrote a couple of years ago for Christmas. I got a wild hair at my ass, and like in, I don't know, probably the end of November, I was like, I'm gonna write Celeste a short story for Christmas, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna write it on my phone, and then I'm gonna get like little booklets, and I'm gonna hand write every word out, and then do it in pencil just in case I fuck up I can fix it and then go over it with a pen. Long story short, I did not have that present completed by Christmas. I had part of it done, but it was a story about a woman who gets abducted by aliens, and because Celeste has a tremendous fear of aliens showing up in her bedroom at night. So I was like, I'm going to write her a really scary story about an alien showing up in a woman's bedroom at night, and then that woman gets abducted, and the absolute worst things in the world happen to her because I'm a great husband.
So romantic. Oh my god.
But
She must hate this movie also.
She loves this movie.
Yeah.
She loves alien movies. This is one of those things that, same reason that, we're sitting here doing this podcast, because I'm fucking terrified of sharks and infatuated with them all at the same time.
That all makes sense.
So, it's not, same reason that, you wanted to go surfing at dark because...
Dumb child.
Yeah.
Child, I think I was probably like 18. No, I was like 19 or 20.
I was gonna say, that had to be right about the time that you and I became buddies,
Yeah.
because if you were busting at CPK, that's about when I started.
I was either 19 or 20,
Yeah.
Yikes.
Damn. What a time to be alive.
Ages ago.
It's like a decade ago now. God, we've been doing this dance for a hot minute.
Yes.
Well, tonight on the Johnny Jaws cast, we are discussing the 2022 science fiction western horror film from Jordan Peele, Nope! And if you've seen the film, then you probably understand why we're discussing it on the Johnny Jaws cast. And if you have not seen the film, and you're like, why are they talking about an alien movie on a shark-related podcast? Well, stop what you're doing right now and go and watch the film, and you'll hopefully understand why.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it took me about halfway through the movie to realize why we were watching this.
and I mean,
I
did pause it and go, hey, do you know why we're watching this movie now?
And I'm pretty sure I said no.
Because I hit you up, like, last week, and it was like, hey, we're going to do a podcast, like, does this day work for you? And you're like, yeah, we'll make it work for that day. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then you started being like, yeah, I gotta rewatch this movie, man. You know, like, I know we just watched it, but, like, I gotta have it fresh in my mind. And I was just like, well, A, I know you've never seen this movie because I asked you about it, like, not a month ago, and you said, no, I haven't seen that movie. And B, I was like, we definitely have not watched it together, so I don't know what you're talking about. And then you started making references to Five Nights at Freddy's, which we watched together for your birthday.
Review on its way.
Never ever. Long story short, that movie's garbage. I have nothing nice to say about it, so
Christmas is right around the corner.
Coming 2024. The Five Nights at Johnny's podcast.
Loved it. Anyways,
Brian, does the thought of alien invasion scare you?
Yes and no. We talked about this earlier. Like, not any more than the current status of the world. Yeah. I mean, when we talked about it earlier, it was like, I mean, yes, it's freaky and looming, but also, if they wanted to wipe out our civilization, they could have by now.
Yeah.
And they're probably kind of just chilling up there like this movie, watching us and being like, they're doing a pretty good job at it on their own.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's a lot like us watching, like, fucking, what was the video I sent you of the alligator fighting the anaconda or python? And you're just like, God damn! That looks fucking awful! Alright, on to the next thing, I guess. I just feel like
I'm not there.
That's what aliens are doing.
Swipe.
They're just like watching us going, ah, fuck!
Oh, yeah.
What's going on in Israel? That looks terrible!
They need to get their hands or whatever they are dirty. You know,
Alright, let's go see what the fuck's going on Mars. Alright, later.
Yep.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
I mean, if they showed up Independence Day style tomorrow, there would be cause for concern, to say the least. But if they're just floating around out there like we are very, very sure at this stage in the game that they are, then, you know, yeah, I'm definitely more concerned about catching cancer.
Right. Our shit's already so beyond fucked at this point. I think if an alien showed up, we wouldn't even know what to do. We'd be like, oh man, we really gotta get our priorities together.
If anything, it would be this.
Could help. I don't know.
Like, if you've ever read or seen the film Watchmen, I feel like the graphic novel does a little bit better job with it, where they create in, like, the world is on the brink of nuclear war, and then one man manages to create, like, a alien species that like attacks us essentially, and we have to band together as a human race to fight the alien species. And you know, that That's, wishful thinking to say
Exactly.
the least.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah. But that would be one of the positives to come out of that sort of scenario. Like, hey, the enemy of my enemy,
Exactly. Religion, what?
Yeah. I would say, if aliens fucking showed up tomorrow, then a lot of people would be shaken in their faith, to say the least. Yeah. So. But, this is the Johnny Jaws cast, and we are out here on Amity Island as per the usual. We just really enjoy this fucking island because we've been here for like 2 years now. Just hopping around and talking about sharks, and every now and then we'll see a razorback out there, and now there's aliens. So something tells me that there might be an alligator or a crocodile not too far in the distant future, But if there's an issue on Amity Island, we naturally have to stop by the Amity police station. You've been hanging out with my kid too much.
He tried to arrest me earlier.
I know. He's gonna make a hell of a law enforcer one day. Let me tell you, this kid tried to arrest Brian and told him he was gonna take all of his money. So
Whoa. Like, you go.
Hey man, you've been watching Training Day.
Yeah.
Oh, goddamn.
Bright future in politics.
King Kong ain't got shit on him.
That's right.
Alright, so Nope is a 2022 American Western science fiction horror film written, directed, and produced by Jordan Peele under his and Ian Cooper's Monkey Paw Productions banner. It stars David Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer as a horse wrangling group of siblings attempting to capture evidence of an unidentified flying object in California. Appearing in supporting roles are Stephen Yeun, Michael Wincott, Brandon Piera, and Keith David. So, yeah, basically, I could do a breakdown of the film's plot, but why would I do a good breakdown when Brian can do a bad breakdown? So, Brian, please take it away with Brian's best bad breakdown.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna kick your ass so much, we're gonna get tired of kicking your ass. We're gonna start kicking our own asses. There's gonna be so much ass kicking, they're gonna write a book about it. There's gonna be so much ass kicking today, they're gonna make it a national holiday. Ooh, people are gonna get so fucked up on that holiday, they're gonna get together, start making horny little ass kicking babies. There's gonna be an ass kicking extravaganza.
You done?
Too soon, I tell.
Will you two just shut the fuck up and fight me already?
Ass kicking. Okay, now I'm done.
As a sudden phenomenon kills the father of a farm, the son, now in charge, believes that a creature did the damage. OJ, has to use his skills to defend his farm from the monster wreaking havoc on his shores, land, and kill the son of a bitch once and for all.
Beautiful. Lovely. I'm here for it.
I hope so.
You want to break down your breakdown and discuss your references there?
Sure. So lots of references to what we've touched on in the past, being why we're here, Jaws, and Signs. Two of, I feel like, very main contributors. Meryl being kind of an OJ figure, Joaquin Phoenix from Signs, and then obviously our monster wreaking havoc on his shores / land.
Yeah,
A story retold and just don't fix it if it's not broken type of.
I think that Nope and Signs are a perfect double feature at the Johnny Horror Drive-In.
Oh, I love it. God.
I think you start with Signs. I think you do because it's got a little bit more of a for really, really lack of a better phrase. This is not the appropriate phrase, but I can't think of anything better right now. A wet blanket ending. Like, it's a lot more kind of like, and I mean, I love the ending of that movie. I really, really love the ending of that movie, but Nope has obviously a much more grandiose, big, loud, epic ending, you know?
Yeah.
But I think those two very much go hand in hand.
Yeah, Signs leans into that more like War of the Worlds kind of apocalyptic. We found the cure, but you know, the movie doesn't cover it.
Yes.
We don't get into that.
Yeah.
We did it, but there's work to be done. Here's your soft kind of ending.
Well, like, Signs, like, falls into the same tropes as War of the Worlds, where, like, in the original novel of War of the Worlds, it is the environment that kills the aliens. They don't know how to...
They're losing, yeah.
They don't know how to deal with, like, our...
It's the atmosphere, right?
It's like the bacteria. They get sick by the common cold.
Right, that's
It
right.
wipes them out, which I think is genius. And I've talked about this on this podcast with multiple people, Kaylin and Abby specifically. Like, I love the ending of Signs. So many people are like, why the fuck would the aliens come to a planet that is, you know...
70% water.
70% water, and when they can't live in water. And my argument is always, well, they probably had no idea what the fuck water was.
Yeah.
If you think of us going to a different planet, odds are there is some sort of element that we're not going to be familiar with, and it will fucking kill us.
Yeah.
Watch any fucking science fiction movie with us trying to explore other planets and see how many motherfuckers get killed that way. Boom!
Case in point.
Boom! So, anybody who says the ending of Signs is stupid, guess what? You're stupid.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Pioneering a new planet. Come back to our podcast and listen to how I win. God, that movie's so good.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so good.
And I just feel like there are so many, like, beats. Like, there's a farm. You know, Mel Gibson has a farm.
The terror.
Yeah, the build-up, there's good amount of, like, is what's happening actually happening? Mel Gibson has a farm.
I love that that's your beat. There's a farm. Mel Gibson has a farm.
Well, you started talking, and I was like, all right, cool. Well, I was going to lead in with more stuff. Now, fuck. God damn it. I want t-shirts made so bad that just has the Johnny Jaws cast, like, on the little breast pocket, and on the back, it just says Mel Gibson has a farm. If you're out there and you're listening, please make us those shirts. Like, oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. But there is, like, a buildup of, like, is what's happening actually happening, and the characters have to kind of come to terms with that.
Right.
And so there are, both films have these great beats of, like genuinely scary things happening.
To such, like, a humble situation.
Yeah.
Too. Obviously, like, both of them are just like, we're working our land. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is this happening here?
Yeah.
Like, right now? Really? Like, what the fuck?
And both films deal with, like, a character, like, the lead character losing a significant loved one in their life in an absolutely awful way. and
picking
how
up the
that
pieces.
and how that contends with the situation that they find themselves in throughout the rest of the film.
God, it's so good.
And both films also kind of deal with like miracles in a way. I think Signs deals with miracles in a much more positive light, where
True.
Nope is taking the opposite direction of sometimes they're just bad things that happen that have no explanation.
Exactly.
I
love that line too. That's so good.
Yeah, it's a great line.
It's a real kicking point in that movie. I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah. Brian, what was your first kind of like discovery of this film? Like, when did you first kind of become aware of it?
It popped up, I think, as a trailer, which we talked about. And when I was talking to Celeste about it, I'm like, man, this movie's been out for a year. I haven't seen it yet until tonight. And up until this point, I still knew very little about the plot. I knew it was good because I trust the director and the cast, and I knew what was coming was going to be fucking killer. But the way they built the trailer and the way they marketed it, it was just like, and like the title alone, like it just sets up so much like, what's the word? Fucking like, fuck, I can't think of it. But it just sets up so much in the shadows of just, okay, cool. That's the setting. That's what you get. It's horses. This is the family. This is where they're at. That's all. Shit's going down. It's in the sky type of thing. And I loved it. And I was like, damn. Every time I watch like the trailers or little like teasers on Instagram and stuff, I'm like, damn, this is really cool marketing. Because they don't give away anything.
Yeah, other than that, it's clearly a UFO.
Yeah. And that's it. They don't show anything. There's only like little teasers here and there. Even like the more in-depth ones that had like certain characters in it. It was still just like, it's still not telling like a story through this trailer. And I love that. I'm like, God, I wish more movies would do this.
Would play it that close to the chest, right? Yeah, I agree. Like,
I hate watching 3 minutes of a fucking trailer, and I'm like,
and you're like,
cool,
well,
there's
like,
that movie.
Why would I pay to see this movie now?
I'm like, all right, well, when that one streams, I guess I'll watch it now that I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm like, it's a UFO to some degree, and it's on a ranch. That's all I really know what's coming.
Yes.
And we're along for the ride, and I love that.
I had so much of, like, the inverse of that. Obviously, I had seen Get Out, and I had seen Us, so I was very aware that Jordan Peele was making another movie and that it was a horror science fiction movie. And so when the trailer came out, I was just like, okay. It's clearly an alien movie. And that's where the marketing worked really well for me, because I watched their first trailer, their teaser trailer, whatever it was. Watched that one, was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I thought Get Out was incredible. I really liked Us, but I definitely had... You haven't seen Us,
I haven't
right?
seen Us yet.
You haven't seen Us. So
Nope.
I really, really like that movie, but there's some definite, like, issues with my suspension of disbelief where I'm like, okay, why and how are these things happening? That to the degree that, like, it bothers me when I watch the movie.
Okay.
And that's you know, a discussion for another time. But so I watched this trailer and I was like, okay, aliens, whatever. I'm sure there's something else there because it's Jordan Peele, but I'm like, you know, I don't know. And then their second trailer came out and I tried not to watch a lot of it. Like, I didn't watch it on YouTube, and then, like, we were in a movie theater seeing a film and it came on and I kind of just did one of these where, like, I would kind of like, look up and kind of like,
smart,
look down.
Smart.
But yeah, and then the reviews came out, and the reviews were mostly positive, but not as positive as his previous film. So I was just kind of like, you know, maybe it's a dud. So, like, I knew that Celeste wanted... I mean, I wanted to see it still. There was no question about it. But Celeste has been really a big fan of all of his movies. So it was like, yeah, we're going to go see this. And without showing my hand too much, like, in that movie, like, when that movie was done, it was just kind of like one of these moments of, like, that was not what I expected. And, you know, to once again say positive things about the marketing, like, it piqued my interest without, like, it's, you know, the Leo thing from Django, where it's like, you know, you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. Like, the trailer had my curiosity, and this film constantly has my attention. Like, if you have paid attention to my review channel at all, then you know exactly how I feel about this film. But without any further ado, we are gonna talk about some of the things that we enjoyed about this film specifically. And in order to talk about things that we like, we got to go to places that we like. So we're gonna bounce from the super duper depressing setting of the Amity police station and head on over to some white sand beaches. Over here at beautiful white sand beaches, aka the good stuff, aka what we liked about the movie, we're going to talk about the shit that we liked. So, B-Rye, why don't you hit me with one of the things that you enjoyed about this movie?
Oh, man. Mine went pretty, like, chronologically.
Yeah, that's how I tend to do mine as well. Actually.
I was kind of just, like, getting into it and settling in and, like, hitting key points, but man, that intro with his dad and things just raining from the sky tripped me out. But it was such a cool fucking intro with, like, really not a lot of shadows or anything in the sky, but
it takes place in broad daylight.
Just raining. Like, it's like, is it hailing? What the fuck is happening? It's in broad daylight. There's some clouds, but not enough.
Yeah.
Nothing's dark enough to, like, be raining. And then the damage done.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, to his father, and then to see that shot of the key sticking out of the horse after it jumped from one of them. God, that was such a fucking cool scene.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. My very first thing that I have is the opening. Like, I include that scene as well, but the bit opening with the tragedy on the Gordy set with the chimpanzee. God, I remember the first time I watched it, and you expressed this to me as well at the end of the picture. It was like, why did we start with that scene? What is the significance?
That timeline is so gnarly
of that scene. And we'll talk a little bit more about the significance overall a little bit later, but there is such a foreboding nature about that scene, then the scene with OJ and Otis Sr., that you're on edge. And that's what I talked to you about, that I think Jordan Peele probably does better than anybody in this current age. You know, the only other person I can think that did it as good or better is John Carpenter when he was in his prime. There's just a way that Jordan Peele sets up his movies that's just off center, to where you're like, something doesn't seem right. He does it very well in Get Out. Like, I remember feeling incredibly uncomfortable through all of Get Out.
Oh, that's his jam, man.
Yeah. And Us, there's a very creepy intro to that as well.
I believe it.
Excuse me. Yeah, he just has this great way of, like, you just, like, going in, I'm just gonna go see a movie. It's gonna be great. And then within 5 minutes, you're like, I don't really feel comfortable being here
and
right now.
And you're a part of it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The way it's shot, you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
You're in that scene. You're right there, and it's so uncomfortable. And then it segues into almost a comforting setting that's just off kilter enough, and then again settles back into something uncomfortable and like unknown.
Yeah, and I mean the very next thing that I have that also has in parentheses right next to it foreboding is the titles. Because
Same. I said the name chapters.
Yeah. That's my next thing is the chapters. But like the title is like right when it drops Nope, and then you just see you're kind of in this like almost like air shafty looking thing, and you're like, what is this? I don't know, like, what is this square box with all these flutters that we're kind of like passing through, and you don't know what it is until you've seen the movie. And then every time you watch the movie subsequently, when those titles roll, Nope goes, and then they're doing the cast and crew titles, you're just like,
Yep.
God. That's its fucking throat.
Yep.
And it's just scary. It's just a scary way to... I remember even not knowing what it was, just feeling very unnerved on the first watch.
So unsettling.
Like, what are we in for? Because we started with this fucking monkey for some reason, and then we jump over to this farm, and shit's falling from the sky. Now we're in this, like, fucking square tunnel thing, and... we've just gone through so much in such a small period of time. I don't know where my bearings are, and I think it's just such smart filmmaking to set you
That's so cool.
off the dial and just not know what to expect. You know,
you're just along for the ride, aggressively uncomfortably along for the ride.
Yeah,
and you literally just have to like settle into your seat and just ride it out.
I mean, very much like
because even the timing, like you're in the tunnel of that intro for a while.
Yeah,
and you have no idea what it is at that point. You're just like, okay, and it's like wheeling, and you're doing your thing, and it opens up until like the man riding the horse, the like 2-second clip, as it like kind of spills into itself. It's just like, God, like, nothing is. You can't anchor yourself to anything.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay.
Absolutely.
You just have to buckle up. Because it's happening. Guy does such a good job. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just such a great intro, such a great start to the film. And, yeah, what you were saying just a second ago, like with the chapters, like that's... Like, I'm a big fan of that in movies. I
love it.
I
love it.
When Tarantino does it, I fucking love that shit.
Killer.
Yeah.
He's top tier when it comes to those. Because probably the way my OCD and type A personality is structured, like, I fucking love just doing, like, having title cards for, or chapters for scenes and different parts of movies, because it does kind of like fall into like reading a book almost, and I don't know, I'm a really big fan of that. Like, I love it. We brought it up before. Like, I loved it in, I think the way I brought it up to you was I loved it in like Infinity War when they set like this is the city we're at, and it's just like bam,
Yeah.
and it's such a clean font, which is huge.
Graphic designer here, ladies
To
and
me,
gentlemen.
I love it, and it's like this bitchin' font, and it's over a cityscape, and it's just like boom,
Yeah.
setting. And then from that, we've used it in the Johnny Horror Show
Yeah.
with regards to Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats music videos.
Well, that
where
was-
they slap it in
Yeah.
as a stock cut
Yeah.
with a title. It's like pause everything, lock it, and then play.
That's absolutely how we started doing that bit, because you sent me that video and we were both like, yeah, that part where like he's like, man, I need a drink, and then it just smash cuts to the title, freeze frame right there. I was like, dude, we should start doing that on the show.
And it's next scene. And
Yeah.
it rolls right in.
And it just
I'm like,
then it
oh!
smash cuts to the next scene.
And it's
like-
very Tarantino.
yeah.
Especially in that music video.
Yeah.
It's very Tarantino. But God, it's like Kill Bill to a T, and it's
Yeah.
fucking
I love
awesome.
that shit.
But I just love that like punchy scene setting.
Yeah.
And that's like in this movie, it's like horse names or Nope or Gordy, and it's
Yeah.
just like here's what's coming, bitch.
Yeah.
And you like buckle up. And it's just like fuck, here we go. And it does. It sets it up, and like it's such a fun segue
Yeah, I
into
think
something so intense.
he does it really smart too, where he does like each beat does have to do with a horse.
Up until a
then
point.
Up until a point, and then
I
we go
changed it. At first, the first two, I'm like, I love the horse titles.
Yeah.
And then it went to Gordy.
Gordy.
And I was like, oh shit, it's not just horse titles.
Yeah.
We're getting into shit. And then Nope was one. I'm like, okay, so just title cards.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Well,
damn.
when they throw back, because they do Gordy, and then it jumps to Jean Jacket, which was the name of one of their horses, but is now the name
Yes.
of the unidentified object,
Mhm.
which I think is just fucking mwah. Love all that.
So good.
Yeah, just the way he uses that as a kind of like a reset. He does a lot too with his cuts, where he cuts to black a lot in this
Yeah.
movie. Even if it's like for a split second, like when OJ gets knocked out after the Star Lasso experience, he gets kind of like sucked up, but he goes up into like the rafters and then
Smacks
slams
the
down
rafters,
and then
yeah.
just like cuts to black, and that was like is like a 2 seconds of
Yes.
black, and then goes like he does that really well throughout the film. Excuse me. I don't know. There's just I love that level of like creativity, and like this is how I'm going to tell this
Right.
specific story.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll use some similar beats from things that I've done before,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna integrate new cuts, new style of filmmaking for this particular film, as opposed to things that I've done before. Like
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that, and this movie just as a whole is clearly bigger than anything he's done before, and it just feels bigger, and just the approach that he takes overall is very fun and engaging.
Yes. God, it's killer. Like some of those cuts were like the intro, the first couple cuts, like it's like, okay, there's a break in this conversation. Like there's a break in the scene.
Yeah.
And it just like almost fades to that black.
Yeah.
And other ones towards the tail end, it's just like right after a sentence.
Yeah.
It's just boom.
Yeah.
Title card. And it's just like, ooh, we're getting into it. Like this is happening. The tempo. That's cool.
Again, it is very much like reading a book, because you would get to the end of a chapter and it would end with that one line, and then you'd flip the page, and then you'd be like, Jean Jacket.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
baby,
Yeah,
we're
let's
in
go.
for it. Let's go.
Next page. Oh, God. I love it. The next like I had was, they were pretty early on, but it was the horse shrieks when they're being abducted.
I feel like you're looking at, like, I fucking swear to Christ, like, verbatim, like, all the same things. Because that's what I have. I just have the screaming. Like,
yes.
Because
and the fact that OJ mentions, like, I've never heard a horse make that sound before. And it's such a crazy, like, through the canyon as it's flying by. Like, which is a whole nother thing of, like, the sounds as it's still around.
That's kind of what I was referencing, is because when you first watch the film, the first half of the film, you just think that's a spaceship whizzing by. That's the sound that it makes.
Right.
And then you realize it's fucking screaming. And you're like, oh, fuck, it's awful.
In the midst of being eaten.
Yes. Being fucking digested and shit.
And then it finally just... Which is probably another thing I think I might have wrote down. Yeah, it's kind of in there, but just like that finale. But the lead up, like... And like when he goes to find... What's the name of the first horse that gets out? The white one that jumps and he tears after it when he first hears him, like...
Ghost, right? I think
maybe it is Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Because one his dad is writing. That's when he, like, sees the amphitheater and he hears him, like, giving his whole spiel. And that's when the horse actually gets abducted. Because it went on cue. And he hears it through the canyon. And the lights, like... And it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, and the way they did that sound, Carrie, it's just so cool.
Yeah, dude.
And so eerie. And I was like, oh, man. This is something else. Like, next level, for sure.
Again, it's like... and I'll reiterate this probably 2 or 3 more times as we're, like, discussing this movie, but Celeste said it best, like, at the end of the film, she's like, just every time you see it, it gets better. And she was like...
I heard that.
She looked at me, she was like, don't you think? I was like, absolutely. Every time we watch this movie, it gets better and better.
Yeah.
And just, like, the gravity of each scene and each scenario, like, again, just every time, like, that fucking spaceship goes whirling by and you just hear the screeching coming from it, you're just like, God, it just ate a fucking horse. It just ate, like, 50 people, like...
Yeah. Oh, that was insane. Yeah, that's on there. What's next on your list?
Gordy and the Veil. Kind of, this is like something that you had mentioned, and I thought was really impressive that you mentioned, like, just kind of off the cuff, because I had to read a lot about this, and I suppose we can talk about this here, about the significance of Gordy and Jupe and the disaster on the television set, and how this film opens with a very small snippet of that.
God.
And then kind of doesn't touch back to it for another 30 to 40 minutes.
At least.
And you're like, okay, so what does a chimpanzee going ape on a television set... You're welcome.
Yeah. Nice.
If this was one of my reviews, I would have laughed, like, angrily in the camera right there. Like, yep, just like that. You know the way. So what is a chimpanzee going crazy on a television set and killing a bunch of people have to do with an alien organism appearing in the California desert on a farm? Like, how do those two things coincide and exist and have significance to one another?
Yeah.
So, obviously, the idea is there's multiple themes throughout this film. One of them is obviously what we give and sacrifice to try and become famous, and what it kind of takes from us as individuals. The other is the Hollywood system in general and how fucking preposterous it is. We get a lot of that in the opening scenes with OJ on the commercial set. Just how fucking preposterous that world is.
And the TMZ guy.
With the TMZ guy as well.
That's right.
Dying to get his hands on a camera before he dies.
That's all he wanted.
Insanity. But I think the big thing is, and this is, very much thrown in your face, it's not subtle at all, is that you don't fuck with nature, basically. You can't control nature, and I think that comes down to animal nature, nature, human nature. Like we're all like beholden to just the way the world is. And Jupe early on sees something absolutely horrific happen to his co-stars, and he experiences a true tragedy, but he like bottles it up and doesn't quite work through it and process it. And you can see that in the scene when he's discussing the SNL skit and how warped his mind is, because he's discussing that SNL skit and like
it's artwork.
Yeah, exactly.
He lived it.
Yeah, and the way that he talks about it is obviously like him cutting himself off from the actual tragedy and being like, dude, Chris Kattan is the fucking shit. He was on fire as Gordy. Like, he's undeniable, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, okay, man, like, people died, bro, and you were there. Like, come on, let's...
As a child.
Let's, you can see how he disassociated himself from that.
So then fully...
And then a handful of scenes later, we get to see the actual incident itself, where the monkey goes apeshit and just fucking annihilates a couple of cast members.
Man.
And then Jupe being underneath a table with tablecloth on it is hiding, and then the chimpanzee spots him and comes over to him like fucking bloody as fuck, and there's the tablecloth covering Jupe's eyes from the chimpanzee's eyes, and the chimp knows he's in there and puts his fist out for a fist bump that they've established that they do. Yeah.
They do explosive fist bump.
The first exploding fist bump. And as they're about to do the fist bump, the law enforcers show up and shoot the chimp in the head.
Yep.
In the story. So the bit to take from that is that Jupe was not able to look Gordy in the eyes. Had he looked him in the eyes, he would have, there would have been a fight for dominance, basically. That's what we're doing here, is that, nature in and of itself, there's always going to be, a food chain and a top predator.
Yep.
And because that veil was covering Jupe's eyes, he couldn't look into Gordy's eyes, and Gordy couldn't look into his eyes, so he was protected there. And then that jumps obviously forward to everything that happens with OJ and the commercial and people looking to the horse's eyes, and then OJ registers that, and that's what it is when you look at
that dominance,
the monster.
Yeah.
Don't look it in the eye, because it only eats you if you look it in the eye.
Right. It's territorial.
Yeah. And I think, maybe some of that shit comes on a little heavy-handed, but I think it's also fun in the narrative and the storytelling themes. I also think it's just great. It's just a great monster movie. So, it doesn't matter. Like, if you just want to see it as a monster movie and you don't want to think about the fact that, like, oh, it's, nature and
Yeah.
food chain and predators and all that. If you just want to look at it as like, hey, there's just a fucking alien eating people, cool.
Yeah.
It works in those terms too. But obviously, this movie has a lot on its mind besides just that.
So good. God. So good. Man. All right. I would touch on mine next.
Go
For likes. Angel's whole vibe. Your words. I put it in my likes. I fucking love that guy. I was very, very concerned that he was going to get cut in half.
With the barbed wire. Yeah.
They set it up so well.
Yeah.
I'm just like, he's done. He's going to get ripped in half and I'm going to cry. And this movie is going to turn into a very dark, dark movie.
Yeah.
Because he is the only beacon of light and, like, depressed hope.
Yeah.
He, like, expresses to them immediately, like, how sad and his heart's been broken. And he's just working at Fry's. And he's just, like, this broken shell of a man who knows technology. And he just wants to spend time with them. And then he turns into, like, this optimistic person. And then he gets wrapped up in barbed wire and he can't get out of it. And it sucks him up. And I'm like, I'm gonna be so sad if they kill him via barbed wire.
Well, he was being really smart about it because the reason he tightened, so he takes the tarp.
Is that what it is?
And he takes the tarp and then he tightens the barbed wire so when it gets, that's the only thing that saved him.
Okay.
I mean, granted, it still could have very much cut him in half, given,
That's what
how
I was
strong that
wondering.
hole was, but it was so he wouldn't get sucked in. He was tightening it so he wouldn't get sucked in. But, I agree.
You see the post, like, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom. And I'm just like, I was wondering, I'm like, is it a tether or is this the scene where, like, it's going to flip the coin and then later, obviously. And I'm just like, oh. God, I love that.
I remember when I first watched this movie, just like halfway through, I leaned over to Celeste and I was like, God, I fucking love this guy. He cracks me up. He cracks me up so much. Everything that comes out of his mouth. Like, I didn't write it down because I don't think I have to, because it just, like, stuck so fucking firmly in the forefront of my mind. But, like, at one point, he's just like, I think it was like when the TMZ guy on the motorcycle, like, launches off and he's just like, for the love of fuck! I'm just like, God, that's a good line.
That's right. And she's yelling at him before that, and he was just like, fucking copy!
That's what it was. He's like, fucking over. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
Over. I'm sorry, I'm scared.
He has great lines. Like, I love
Killer.
his, just like I said, I love his whole vibe
His
because
demeanor is amazing.
it just almost feels like it's a combination of you and me,
Yes.
like, as a person. Because, like, when we first meet him, like, that's very much me. I'm like, hey, what do you want? You need someone to help you set this up? Okay, cool. Well, good luck. You're not going to be able to do it because you're stupid, but I can do it for you.
Yep.
And then throughout the rest of the movie, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's just like Brian.
This guy's just running his mouth and scared.
Being Yep. But like his style too, like he shows up in like a cool black t-shirt, a pair of black Dickie shorts,
Right?
like pulled up fucking
Yep.
black socks and like Vans, and I'm like,
Yep.
man, I dig this guy's vibe, man.
Big
This
fan.
is attire. Yeah, dude, I fucking love Angel. MVP of the movie for me, for sure.
Yeah, hands down. My next one touches on our previous with the horse shrieks when they're being abducted was the screaming from above the house when the two of them, Angel and Emerald, are in the house.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Well, to piggyback on that and to double back on the piggyback, my absolute favorite scene in this movie, because it was something that I had a really hard time wrapping my head around the first time I watched it, was the Star Lasso experience.
Yes.
I didn't understand
So much happens.
what was going on
Yeah.
until it was already over.
Yep, same.
And
Just happened.
yeah,
I was
and
like, what
like
the
by the
fuck?
time your brain registers what happens, like we're already on to the next scene, and
It's
then you're just kind of like,
jamming.
you're just like,
Yeah,
oh my god, all those people just got eaten.
all of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so earlier on in the picture, OJ says, "What if it's not a ship?"
Yeah.
And then we cut to black, like we were talking
Yeah.
about. We just did one of those like smash
And
cuts
that
to
one
black.
kicked me too. I was just like,
Yeah, what do you mean? Like,
so it's a thing? What are
yeah,
we
like
talking
why?
about?
I remember just like thinking, me like,
It's like it doesn't move like a ship.
what? Yeah, what do you mean it's not a ship? Like, how could it not be
Yeah.
a ship? Because it's clearly a ship, and that's what our fucking peon
It's all I can
brains
comprehend.
were like. Okay, what does that mean? Of course, it's a ship.
They're our size and they're
Yeah.
visiting.
Yeah.
They drive
So-
something.
It was kind of the Star Lasso scene that you're like, what the fuck just happened? And then when you're like, oh man, those people were being eaten, you're like, it's not a fucking ship. It's a thing. It's a creature. It's a monster.
As soon as he unveils Lucky in the little caboose thing
Mm-hmm.
to send him down the gulch, I'm like, that's why when they came for their meeting, he was like, I want to talk about buying the horses back. And he was like, we can talk about that.
Yeah. Dude, you're so fucking smart. Like, because,
Aren't any horses.
again, it took me my second
For a
watch
long
to be
time.
like, it took me my
Yeah.
second watch to be like, why the fuck? Like, because I
Why is he
remember the
weird
first
about
watch.
it?
The first watch, I was like, "Wow, he's really weird about it."
I'm like, that's a weird way to say that.
And then on the second watch, I was like, "Oh, because the motherfucker was feeding him that sack of shit." Good job, Brian.
But that whole scene of them being like, that was when it was like, oh, this is it's a thing. It's eating people. And like watching them get sucked up and the screams and I'm like the claustrophobia, like, oh,
what I
God, it makes me
really
so uncomfortable.
what I really like about it is that like I find myself as a horror fan wanting to see more.
Of
like
course.
I'm like, okay, cool.
They get like
But,
up to
like,
a thing and then
It was like
two things.
part of a horse. It was like partially digested horse. At least that's from what I can tell. That's what it was. Like it was like a horse's head.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
even see that.
Like that's
I saw
pretty
them
sure.
getting up to something and then it like
I'm
cut.
almost
I was
positive that's what it is.
like, I was like, what the fuck was that?
And it's one of those things where I'm like, I want to see more, but like my imagination, like that's where it's like such smart filmmaking. Like your imagination does the rest.
That's it.
You
It's like
just
science.
you just know that there's absolutely horrific things happening because you hear the screaming
Oh my God.
for hours
It just keeps going.
until finally it gets squashed.
It's finally just like, okay. And then it's just silent. And it's just like, oh my God, why did it take that long?
Yeah.
And why was it so sudden? What
Yeah.
the fuck? All of a sudden it's just like, I'm done with you.
Yeah, it's like it
Like-
took a long time to digest all 40 of those people.
But they were alive the whole time.
Uh-huh. And that's like
That's why he hears it through the whole canyon.
and that's like another horrific detail. Then you think about the fact that like Jupe and his family and his co-star, like both him like and her survived this absolutely horrific ordeal to just die in an arguably worse fashion. That there's something about like a group of people dying in a horrific way that
Right.
that's just like worse than one
Mhm.
one person dying. I don't know what it is. Like
I mean,
yeah, I mean the fact that there's more people
based
but,
off
like,
of that.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like if the same thing had happened to just one person in the movie,
Right.
it wouldn't have the effect that it does when
No.
you just see like a group of people
Obviously.
just
Yeah.
being like. And that shot of Steven Yeun as he looks up and you just see all the shadows swirling around him as like his fucking hair blows and everything, and you just like, then it cuts to black, and then yeah, the next thing that like you said, over the house.
Oh, in the rain.
Uh-huh.
And the only place it's not raining is over the house, and it's just like, oh my god, it's there. And like the way they set that scene is so fucking insane. The fact that Angel makes it back to the house is already mind-blowing. He wasn't that far, but still. Car died, and he's like, fuck, and runs back to the house, and he grabs a kitchen knife.
Yeah, I love that.
He was like,
love that.
We're fucked! And it just goes under the table. But man, hearing those screams over the house, like the way they did that sound, and like the visuals, and then it just dropping everything, and like not even just dropping, because it's right above the house, but like the keys and shit are still like penetrating wood.
Yeah.
Like they're just like coming out of that fucking thing.
Well, and then that's where you're like, it all makes sense. You're like, all right, cool. So that's what happened in the beginning of the movie. So
It's something.
it ate a whole bunch of other people.
One above and just happened to drop it there.
Yeah.
And it just happened to hit him. It was a nickel.
Yeah.
Went through the back of his fucking head, or top of his head.
Yeah. And then I love that it just like regurgitates blood too.
Oh,
Probably
man, so gnarly.
I was thinking in terms of like, okay, so why did it do that time and not the time with his dad? Like, why did it regurgitate blood? And I was thinking maybe because it had the fake horse in it. It was probably like pushing up against something, maybe like.
Well, it didn't eat his dad.
No, but like when it regurgitates stuff at the beginning of the film,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the keys.
Oh, the keys and shit. Right.
It does that over the house.
That's
and
true.
then it dumps blood, you know, on top of the house.
Right.
So I was thinking that it had to,
Yeah.
I imagine it probably had to do with the fact that like it still had that giant fake horse
Oh, right.
sucked
Yeah.
up in its system. So
It
like,
was all
probably
like
had like,
jacked up.
when it
then
regurgitated all that
It moved down.
all the metal stuff.
Pumped that horse into his
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah.
Because he got rained on too.
Yeah. They're probably like that, trying to vomit that out,
Right.
and managed to vomit some people out too.
So gnarly.
What else do you got?
That also leads to my favorite, best note in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And it's hands down him in his truck, opening the door, looking up. It's all, nope. And just closing the door and then following it with locking it.
I love when he fucking locks it. It's the same thing as Angel grabbing the knife and hiding under the table.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
So unnecessary.
psychologically,
Yeah.
this makes
It's
me
just
feel
like,
better.
maybe.
Like, yeah. That's all it is. And I fucking love that because it is human as fuck.
Yeah. Like, the nope is just insane because he said it a couple times after facing this thing.
Yeah.
He's seen it in different forms and different categories, and he said nope a couple times. Like, he thought he saw alien people and said nope.
Yeah.
And, like, he runs that line, but that is my favorite one, obviously. It's
the best one.
Yeah. Then that leads into the high five handshake hype. Fucking just
I love that.
God.
Fucking love that so much. I want an excuse to be able to do that with someone, but I need to know that they know what I'm doing, because
like, we're doing this, and then just
it's just, you see
Five
how
of them.
pumped they are to be able to like fucking knock that shit
it's
out.
the most emotion you see in him in the entire movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then he just goes back to being Stone Cold
And it's
right
just like-
after that. I love that. I love Angel being like, well, asking as someone who was in the house when the shit went down, and then fucking Emerald is like that, and he just like, they fist bump because they were
like,
both
yes.
in the house when the alien was above the house. Like we
Shitting
survived.
on it. Yeah, they're like, amen.
I love that because it is such like a moment of like, we bonded.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Like, that's right. That's right.
It's so good.
It's so great. God, I loved it. Other than that, it was like the ending kind of tie in with like the
Yeah.
eye to eye thing. That was huge. I'm like, man, that was fucking cool. That was cute. I like that part.
I mean, yeah, I like.
It was cute.
I love all of the lead up to the final act and everything. The final act is great. How it all plays out is great and fun. Like
Just
I
enough callbacks, you know. And...
Yeah, and I mean, it all kind of like comes together. Like, I love the bit with the camera and stuff like that. With and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a couple minutes, because I think a lot more of that has to do with our namesake. So, like, I don't want to dive into that too much yet. So I think that'll probably about do it for the good stuff for us, right?
Yep.
So unfortunately, we're going to have to leave these beautiful white sand beaches because we are getting a call that we might need to tow in a boat, and it just happens to be Ben Gardner's boat. All right, so here, Ben Gardner's boat, aka the shit, aka what we didn't like about the movie. We discuss, surprise, 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 what we didn't like about the movie. So, Brian, don't worry, I'll take it.
Okay.
I feel like you always get to go first. Why can't I go first?
No, I'd love for you to go first.
Okay, the first thing I have on my don't like list
I
is...
just don't like it. No, never mind. Go
No,
ahead.
please, do tell. I would love to know what you don't like about how I do things on my podcast.
I like to do things my own way, but...
Well,
Yeah.
anytime you want to run the show, I'd be happy to sit back. Okay. First thing that I didn't like about the movie was the CGI monkey. Like, come on, gang. Like, you got like a fucking...
Like, you didn't like the CGI or you didn't like the monkey?
Well, the monkey's a bit of a tool, to say the least. But, as we've established, he was just acting his own nature, so can't be too mad about that.
That's on my list, actually.
I don't like how it just... The CGI is not great, and I feel like we're in a space where, like, particularly if you watch the Planet of the Apes movies, like, we can make an ape look really, really realistic. And
they talk.
Yeah. And they look good. They look like...
They shoot guns.
They look like monkeys. So, they walk and act like monkeys. So I just feel like...
I didn't expect more. Yeah.
The CGI on the monkey does not look great. Neither does the clothing on the monkey. Like, the clothing is probably the worst part.
See, I that didn't even catch me as much as, like, the blood. It had, like, it looked like a video game.
Yeah.
It was, like, all, like, the highlights and everything.
Yeah.
It looked like it was, very, like,
very
in
bright.
jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really bright, and it looked like it was in jelly.
Yeah.
But that's not why I didn't like the monkey scene. I didn't like the monkey scene because it was unnerving. The CGI was up there, but I just didn't like it in general. I hated it. It made me so uncomfortable. Especially because the movie starts with it.
Yeah.
I was so unsettled with the sounds that were happening on a black screen leading up to that intro. I was like, oh my god, I know this movie is going to be intense, but fuck. Like,
That's just smart filmmaking right there.
it was great, yeah. Both of my dislikes are because I like them so much, and it's because it makes such a good film. Like, they're on my dislikes because they're great, and because it's like, you know, you hate a villain because they did such a good job.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's one of them.
We'll end with that because I only have two things, and like one of them is the CGI monkey, and the other is the audience at the Star Lasso experience.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's so sparse. Like I feel like there's.
True.
I feel like
I didn't
like
notice
what are we doing? Like you have a budget to like fit at least. Come on, you could have put 30 more people in that audience and really kind of like. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to change anything about.
I mean, they are in the middle of the desert.
I know, but still, like, it feels like if you include the employees, it seems like there's fucking 15 people in that audience.
Yeah.
You know?
With his guest star,
Yeah.
which was wild.
Yeah.
That was a hard trailer hit.
Yeah, her little messed up face.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Very.
But
As soon as he said her name, I was just like, what? That's okay.
that's the one that just got her face beat in for like fucking
Eaten
2
off.
minutes straight. Yeah.
He beats the shit out of her and eats her.
Yeah. Crazy.
And she's still
Yeah.
and just rocks the bagel. Yeah. But that was, yeah. Neither here nor there. Obviously, that was like a very intensifying part of the longer trailer that I saw.
Yeah.
Because you get that glimpse and you're just like,
yeah.
oh, I knew this was an alien movie, but are they among us now?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like
They
in the
did
trailer.
that twist in the trailer.
Yeah, you're like, is that supposed to be? And then you watch the movie and you're like, all right, cool. Now I just feel like a piece of shit for thinking that was an alien.
Yeah, right.
Who went through a very tragic ordeal.
Which went into my other dislike. I disliked it because I liked it so much, was the children pranking him. It fucked me up. That was the most freaked out I was in that entire movie. Was when I thought they had like actually come into to like take the horses. And he just like stumbled upon them. And I was like, oh fuck. They're here type of thing. And it turned out to be like kids. Which from watching the trailer and you think that little glimpse of her like fucked up face is an alien amongst them, spins you into when you see that scene. I was just like, this is what's happening. This is the direction we're going.
Yeah.
They're here. He just like accidentally stumbled upon them.
See,
and they don't know what to do, and neither does he. And I'm like, this is fucking terrifying. This is signs.
That was like one of my favorite little twists about the movie, because like when it happened, like I was the same thing.
Great.
Like when you first see that first alien, I was like, oh god, that's creepy. And then I was like, the longer that scene played out, I was like, is this really what we're doing? Like this,
right.
like,
and I was like, it's almost losing integrity.
Yeah, I'm
spooked, but
I'm like, okay, so they're already here. So what are we doing? Like, these are
where
the
do we go
aliens.
from here?
And the minute he punches him and it's a kid, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You won me back. Like,
exactly.
I thought this was gonna be just like another by the numbers, like wannabe signs thing.
Exactly.
So
I was like, okay, thank God. A, that scene's over, and B, there's more at foot.
Yeah.
And we can get back into
what's really
a
happening.
bigger scheme, which is what makes this movie.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Because at first you're just like, oh shit, we're doing a science thing and I'm scared. Obviously, because, you know, it's just a little bit, enough of a different updated setting.
Yeah.
But no, I liked the way it went. I didn't want, you know,
there to be like
things.
Fuzzy monkey aliens.
Yeah, right. But man, that distance.
Dude,
when you
really first see it
and
it sets in like what you actually see, because your mind doesn't process it at first, and then you're like, there's something over there in that corner, and then you're like, ugh.
And I was like scanning, and I didn't even see it against the saddle until you said something.
Yeah, I just went, or something like that.
And I was just like, over here. And then when you said that, like I'd already done a pan of like, is anything moving? And then as I came back, it's like head came up right when you said that, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I was just like, eating my hood, and I was just like, are we doing this? Because science fucked me up. I'm like, okay. I just asked you if there were fucking
jump scares,
and you said watch the movie.
Don't worry about it.
But I hated it because it was great.
Yeah.
And I liked the way they did that.
Yeah.
Like, that was a very cheeky, like, no, this is not that kind of alien movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And back in.
I love that.
It's like, oh, fuck, we're in it.
Again, it really does kind of, flip expectations in that regard.
Yeah.
Kind of go against the grain, which, I'm a big fan of.
Which reminds me, and I didn't even write it down, but I did have a harder dislike with the praying mantis. It's just, for lack of better terms, it bugged me how they went about
fucking puns all night long over here.
there could have possibly been another way to go about it.
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know, like a light shining at it or something. I don't know. But the fact that there just happens to be a praying mantis on a camera that can wiggle for that long
And it won't move?
is just, I don't know.
See, that kind of lends it more towards, like, the comedic aspect.
Yes.
Because then when Angel's like, there's a bug. There's a bug on the camera.
Right.
There's a bug on the camera. And then...
It's a good tie-in for him.
Yeah, and then fucking Emerald
brings him
like is
into the
like,
show.
oh god, it's still on there. She's like, I hope you like fucking Sour Patch Kids, motherfucker. She's chugging at it.
It is. It makes a very good segue, and it brings him in, especially after he's like, I can monitor him remotely. And like, no. And he's like, dude, anyways. And that's the play. It's
Hey,
like,
my supervisor's
I'll take
gonna
it.
call you and ask how my service was.
5 stars, Angels. 5 stars. Thanks. His intro as a fries employee is just amazing.
I love that they pick one of the fries with the fucking spacecraft crash into it. You know?
That's right. For all their stupid themes. I forgot about that they all had themes.
Yeah.
Or the Oxnard one, wasn't that a space one too?
No.
Oh no, it was like a Western.
I don't even remember. I mean, that might have been what it was.
I don't know what the outside looked like, but the interior were all Western photos. I remember
Really?
that. My stepbrother worked there.
Damn.
I remember they were all like vintage Western photos
What a trip.
around the inside. I don't know if they didn't all have that, but
No,
I don't know what the theme
they've
was.
gone the way of the dodo, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
yeah, I don't think it worked out too well. But that is awesome for the movie.
Speaking of things that didn't work out too well, Ben Gardner, it didn't work out too well for you trying to go after a great white shark.
R.I.P. buddy.
But odds are that it's going to work out pretty well for us when we go have dinner at the Brodies.
Yeah, baby.
How was your day? Swell.
So here at the Brodies, we're gonna chow down on, I don't know, probably some cod or rockfish, whatever they caught down at the local fishery, and whatever Ellen decided to bring home. But after dinner,
Whatever's on sale.
yeah. Hopefully it hadn't gone bad yet. Maybe some cedar plank salmon. But after dinner's over, you know, Chief Brody's gonna sit at the table with his son, and his son's gonna mimic every one of his moves, and we're gonna talk about how this film mimics the moves of Jaws.
Yeah, baby.
Brian, just off the top of your head, do you think you can name a couple of the inspirations that this film takes from Jaws?
Yes. The setting itself. Not being landlocked, but being hunted by a territorial predator. The cast, which we talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are probably the main ones. We can dive deeper into them.
Yeah, I got some beats. So, my argument for this film, and one of the reasons that, spoiler alert, that I loved it, was I found myself thinking, particularly once we realized that this is an extraterrestrial being and not a spacecraft full of aliens, that this is essentially a creature feature, and one that very much feels like Jaws on a farm. I've used that expression numerous times when discussing this film. Razorback is just... That's Jaws on Trotters, I believe is what they called that one.
I love that.
Jaws on Trotters is Razorback.
On Trotters.
trotters.
Yeah, no, I got
Trotting.
it. Yeah.
And
Good
Nope
for you,
is
man.
Jaws on a farm.
Yep.
What do you think about the setup? Think about kind of a community. In this case, it's a farm that needs to make money to survive. So Amity
cows.
Amity can't be shut down during summertime, otherwise they will fucking starve to death during the winter. Essentially, they make all their money during summertime.
Yep.
Haywoods are on the verge of bankruptcy to the point that they're selling off all of their prized horses in order to be able to make ends meet. Just so happens that Jupe is feeding those horses to an alien, that sack of shit. Bastard got all that was coming to him.
God.
We have the everyman that is Chief Brody in two characters, OJ and Emerald. They kind of form a pair of everymen that are just kind of thrust into this extraordinary situation. You have the scientist that is Matt Hooper in Jaws, and in this film is Angel, the tech savvy guy.
Yep.
And then we have the Great White Hunter that is Quint in Jaws, and in this film it is the cinematographer Antler's Host, who is chasing the white whale, the perfect shot.
The impossible.
Yes, the impossible shot. So he's really does kind of fall under that Ahab stereotype,
Aggressively.
which Quint is very much based off of. I mean, Quint in the novel, as you know, dies the same way Ahab dies in Moby Dick. He is drowned when he's trying to harpoon the shark.
Yep.
So,
R.I.P.
R.I.P. baby. And obviously, Antler's Host in this film dies trying to get his impossible shot. There's a lot of parallels in just like obvious ways, like the structure, the way the film kind of plays out. You know, it's this. You have a sequence of events that starts the film, that sets a trajectory. Monster shows up, kills somebody.
Yep.
And then it's a matter of the monster showing up again. Our heroes kind of deciding that there's something that needs to be done about it. And then building towards what our climax will be.
Mm-hmm.
There's less obvious things that kind of take a couple of viewings to really set in. The score itself, I'm a big fan of the music of this movie.
Yeah.
It has a very kind of almost ethereal and adventuristic sort of way about it, in the same way that the score for Jaws does, particularly if you think about not the theme for the shark, but more the theme for the three heroes, which is very, upbeat, fun score.
Yeah.
Where the theme for Nope feels like a combination of that and E.T.,
Yes, it has a retro take.
Yeah, and it just
cool.
kind of like almost like twinkling lights
Yeah.
sort of sound effect, and something magical and fantastical is happening. And I don't know, it just feels very John Williams in that way, so that feels very inspired by Jaws.
Yeah.
The other thing that I very much caught on this watch was the flags. The trail of flags ends up kind of being the yellow barrels.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a signal for, when you see those flags coming through,
Yeah.
for
a while.
You know that the shark is there,
You
basically.
couldn't get rid of that.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's your tell.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big one right before the like mass killing.
And then the way that they manage to kill the alien organism is by having it bite down on something that explodes it from the inside. So I mean, and I could keep going on.
Oh,
you know, there are numerous beats and instances that are just like, it just feels like Jaws, like even like when they're all sitting around the dinner table, like kind of planning stuff. It does kind of feel like
that lighting was killer too, and it's very like in the cabin scene with the four of them. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I so there's just beat after beat, thing after thing that like when I was watching, I was like, oh, that feels like Jaws. That feels like Jaws, and it doesn't. The thing that's great is, unlike other movies that we have discussed and other movies we will continue to discuss in regards to Jaws, it doesn't feel like it's ripping Jaws off. It feels very much like its own thing.
Yeah.
That is paying homage.
Yes.
To what has come before.
It's such a great, like, fun sci-fi take.
Yes. And it does it in a very, very tasteful way, which I can't necessarily say for something like Razorback. As much as I fucking love that movie.
No, it's case in point. You know, you can do it and you can do it well, or you can do it and you can do it creatively and well. I mean, this is a fucking alien movie.
Yeah.
With Jaws inspiration.
Yeah.
And Peele just knocks it out of the park. He's an amazing director, and the way they like set it and the scenery and everything is just great. It's Jaws, but it's Jaws on a farm.
Yeah. But
done correctly and respectfully, I think is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Again, it's not like Jordan Peele set out to rip off Jaws.
No.
He set out to make his own story and worked off of an outline that...
The inspiration's there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah. And again, it's not, you know...
It's a very...
One day we'll discuss Grizzly, which is... you know, Jaws in the forest, and you will just fucking spit within the first 5 minutes because you're like, oh my god, do they have no shame?
I can't wait.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick little break. We will be back to discuss more about Nope. We're going to talk about some alcoholic beverages that pair well with this movie. We're going to talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff with this movie. We're going to hand out some awards. It's going to be a lot of fun. We look forward to having you join us for this second part of the Johnny Jaws cast discussion on Nope. So, until then, y'all motherfuckers, we'll see you on the flip side. Adios, muchachos.